tayo. So abangan natin ng magiging update kung ano yung magiging status ng magiging classes natin next week. Kung online pa rin ba or face-to-face. At as of today, we'll be discussing it, marami tayong i-cover niya. So, ang coverage natin for today's meeting will be 3 topics. So, merong topic A, topic B, and topic C. So, topic A pertains to the basics of OpenFOAM. Topic B pertains to the simple algorithm. Then, topic C involves yung mga know-hows on how to do yung machine problems. So, simulan natin yung lecture adhering to what's given dun sa study guide natin. So, ang nakatoka na kailangan i-discuss is yung basics ng OpenFOAM. So, ito yung symbol ng OpenFOAM. Again, to recap, OpenFOAM is short for Open Source Field Operation and Manipulation. So, this is a toolbox which is written in C++, which is composed of numerical solvers that can be used to solve problems pertaining to continuum mechanics, particularly on CFD analysis. Although 2011 version 11 na siya, I would insist na OpenFOAM version 9. And again, you can install OpenFOAM using yung instructions from the previous lecture. So mabalik tayo doon sa run a folder. So to recap, yung run a folder natin, dito nangyayari lahat ng simulations mo within OpenFOAM. So dito mo ilalagay lahat ng dictionary files, nandito rin nakastore yung mesh mo, dito rin nakastore yung mga field values mo. So meron kang zero na folder, doon nakastore yung field values mo. Yung zero.org folder parang just in case lang as a sort of backup. Yung constant na folder mo, ito yung mga hindi nagbabago. Ito yung mga constant assignment. So assignment ng turbulence model. So pwedeng constant naman siya throughout. Pwede rin naman na mag-declare ka ng constants. Then dun constants na within your solution process ay lalabas. Then i-store mo lang siya sa constant na yun. Then you also have yung system na folder kung saan nakalagay yung mga system files. So unahin muna natin yung system na folder. Since na-discuss na natin kung paano ginagawa yung field files na folder. So within the system folder contain yung karamihan sa mga contents ng system folder mo ay yung mga tinatawag na dictionaries. Dictionaries are the files containing yung parameters na you work around ng mga commands na i-run mo sa OpenFOAM. So, una sa lahat, to every CFD analysis, magsisimula palagi into making yung computational grid. And in making yung preliminary computational grid, we will be executing yung command called BlockMesh. So, para configure mo kung paano mo gagawin paano gagawin ni BlockMesh yung computational grid mo, kailangan mo i-edit yung tinatawag na BlockMesh dict or short for BlockMesh dictionary. So this is a dictionary file. Then yung unang tatlong line, so yung foam file, di ba? Tapos merong parentheses. Format, you have 2 formats, either binary or ASCII. Pag ASCII, yun yung kaya mong buksan sa notepad, whatever it produces. Then, kung binary naman, mas mabilis siyang i-cater ng computer, pero hindi mo siya mababasa diretso. Parang naka-binary kasi siya na code kapag pinrint. Then after that, you're being prompted kung ano yung units ng length mo na tinutukoy dito. Pwede kasing ang nililista mo palang mga coordinates ay in terms of millimeters, in terms of inches. So, to cater that, naglagay ng tinatawag na convert to meters. So, sa convert to meters, pag nilagay mo lang na 1, ibig sabihin, whatever quantity that you're plugging in, that pertains to meters, in meters. And after that, you'll be listing yung lahat ng vertices. So depende siya sa order on how you call them. So halimbawa, una mong nilist na coordinates that would pertain to vertex 0. So to every programmer, array starts at 0. Vertex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shown on the right. So ito yung schematic mo. So meron kang preliminary computational domain, then yung nakikita nyo na black body sa gitna, yun yung isa-snap into natin doon sa preliminary computational domain. So kailangan natin ng computational domain in the first place before mo ma-snap into yung gusto mong assign. And yung configuration ng sample na figure, 3 meters high, 9 meters long, 7 meters wide na room. And kadalasan, dito na rin siniset sa block mesh kung ano yung magiging bounds ng iyong computational domain. So what do we mean by bounds? We need to maintain na yung blockage ratio, ibig sabihin yung amount ng phase, yung pagharang ng black body mo dun sa flow ng hangin should be at least 5 to 7% of the total flow area. Kasi kapag greater than that, possible na nakaka-apekto na yung pressures dun sa gilid, dun sa pressures dun sa gitna. You don't want to allow that. Gusto mo nga i-simulate na kunwari ay open field. So, isolated na building and exposed sa hangin. And you also have a 5 times height na allowance. So parang lang as a rule of thumb and as part of the cost guidelines, preferably 5 times height from the edge of the building. Yung distance yung 5 times height, yung distance from the edge of the building to the inlet na face mo, kung saan pumapasok yung hangin. It's mainly because you don't want to yung nangyari kasi after it hits yung building sa windward na side, nangyari is nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na strong na separation. And may nagsisirculate na flow doon. So merong rotating na flow doon. And since the inlet boundary condition ay nagpo-force na horizontal yung velocity, so kung nag-flow pala ng rotational yung malapit dun sa building, hindi mo gugustuhin na masyadong malapit yung inlet boundary condition. Naglalaban yung tendency na mag-swirl, mag-rotate. At the same time, yung gusto ng inlet boundary condition na diretso yung flow velocity mo. At the same time, 5 times height din yung distance mo from the side. So, yung from the side walls mo. It is mainly to ensure na yung blockage ratio mo ay nasusunod. Ganon din yung along the height. And because mga free-slip boundary condition nito, although yung velocity ay conserved along the tangential, ang nangyari is merong pressure gradients doon sa boundaries na yon, and you don't want those pressure gradients affect kung ano yung pressures na nararanasan ng building. Kaya merong 5 times height na allowance. Remember that the bigger the domain, potentially mas mataas yung computational cost mo. So kailangan mong balanse, i-rationalize mo ano yung tamang timpla. And ang mahaba na part actually ng preliminary computational domain mo is yung 15 times height na allowance between the edge ng leeward side ng building mo doon sa outlet boundary condition mo. Sa outlet boundary condition kasi, para hindi na mahirapan yung pag-solve yung solution process, kasi sa outlet boundary condition, ang nangyari is yung pinokontrol mo lang is yung pressure, then yung velocity ay as is lang. Pero nangyari din dahil coupled yung pressure at saka yung velocity, you want to have a stable na velocity field. Ibig sabihin hindi na siya nagsiswirl, hindi na siya nagbabago across space para stable na rin yung solution mo when you couple it back with the pressure na boundary conditions mo at the outlet. And to allow the flow to experience what's called retardation, so from a swirling one to a simply horizontal one, we put a 15 times height na allowance from the edge. So yun yung mga rationale behind the cause guidelines. So yung vertices ngayon would be referred to when building when calling yung blocks. So blocks, ito na yung pag mo. So meaning na to, you have a rectangular prism na block na comprised of the vertices cited in this manner. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this manner. So kailangan yung unang surface normal, nung unang mong sinite na shape ay pointing inwards. So alam naman natin yung obsession natin into doing yung counterclockwise na rotation based nga doon sa Gauss's divergence theorem. So ito rin yung ginagamit ni OpenFOAM na schematic. And mag-error to kapag hindi ito yung sundan na condition. After that, you cite, yun nga, yung 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yun yung nasa unang parenthesis. You cite all of the vertices in that manner. Then after that, you're being prompted, ilan yung divisions mo? Ibig sabihin, ilang beses mo paghahati-hatiin yung block na yon para magawa yung mesh. So, halimbawa, along the X, there are 75 subdivisions. Matuwang-tuwa si Cynthia Villar dahil daming subdivisions. Tapos, along the Y-axis, meron kang 65 na subdivisions. Tapos, along the Z-axis, meron kang 30 na subdivisions. Yun lang naman yung pinaprompt sa'yo. Then, eventually, yung grading, later on, i-discuss natin to. Ito yung comparison ng size ng first mesh dun sa last mesh. Pwedeng hindi uniformly size or uniformly space yung mga meshes mo. And pwede mo siyang makontrol in this manner. And after listing yung vertices and the parameters into making yung mesh mo, syempre may mga tinatawag tayong patches. Ito yung mga outer boundaries ng ating computational domain. So kasama na rin dito yung magiging billing mo. Pero for the initial boundary condition, syempre meron kang front and back, which is yung free slip boundary condition. So you call on yung vertices in the manner. So 2, 6, 5, 1, tapos 0, 4, 7, 3. So as long as it's in a rotating manner, makukuha naman ni OpenFOAM. And after that, yung inlet boundary condition, so 1, 5, 4, 0. So again, counterclockwise na manner. Same goes with the outlet boundary condition. So 3, 7, 6, 2. Then you also have the lower wall. So 0, 3, 2, 1. Then you have the upper wall na 4, 5, 6, 7. So, after all that's done, gagawin na ni OpenFOAM. Pag nirun mo sa terminal yung block mesh na command, referring to this, gagawin na niya yung computational domain. Pero mabalik tayo sa few slides. Balikan natin yung tinatawag na run na folder. So, kailangan when you execute yung command, yung terminal mo is within the run folder para ma-recognize niya na dito mo i-run yung mga commands mo. So after that's done, magagawa na niyo yung preliminary computational grid. What you will be doing next is yung tinatawag na surface features. Sa surface features, ang ginagawa mo lang is you have yung model ng iyong black body na gusto mong i-snap into the domain. So, ginagawan lang niya ng katumbas na e-mesh na file. Yung parang counterpart niya na kunwari ginawa siya ni BlackMesh. So, meron kang STL na file. Cite mo lang siya dun sa Surface Feature Dictionary. Then, what it does is, babasahin niya ngayon yung classroom floor.stl. So, yun yung hinighlight dito na nakastore sa geometry na folder na within sa constant folder. Gagawa niya ng e-mesh na file. Ito yung titignan ngayon ni Snappy Hexmesh. Ito na yung command on which you snap into yung bluff body mo sa computational domain. It's mainly divided into three main processes. You have the castellation, nandito yung mga initial refinement mo, and pwedeng feature-based refinement, pwedeng surface-based refinement, pwede rin na refinement ng finite ng mga volumes mo near the surfaces. Dito siya nasa-set sa castellation. Tapos meron kang tinatawag na snap. Yung snap is yung pag-carve out ng bluff body mo out of the computational domain. Parang yung mold, yung bluff body mo, yung cast, yung bluff body mo, then yung mold mo, yung computational domain. Then yung last na step to every Snappy Hexmesh, unless hindi siya ni-run, is yung pag-add ng layer. Yung tinatawag na inflation layer. Kailangan yung inflation layer to accurately simulate yung shear stresses mo near the surfaces. So paano ba ginagawa yung castellation? So pag sinabi mong castellation, ang unang pinaprompt sa'yo is meron ka kasing kadalasan multiprocessing yung nangyayari dito. So across many processors, pinaprompt mo na sa'yo ilang local cells. Ilang cells yung kayang i-handle or gusto mong i-handle ng isang processor. So nililista mo lang yun yung max local cells. The next na pinaprompt sa'yo is ilan overall yung cells na magiging upper limit nito. Remember na ang ratio and proportion dito is for 4 gig na RAM, ang kaya niyong i-cater is 2.4 million cells. Kapag lagpas doon, tapos halimbawa 2.5 million, tapos 4 gig lang yung RAM mo, pag pinatakbo mo na yung solver mo, mag-hang lang yung computer mo. Hindi siya magtutuloy sa solution. Tapos meron kang minimum refinement cells, meron kang maximum load and balance, and cells between layers. So to explain what castellation does is kung meron kang STL file, ito na yung e-mesh na file mo, kapag nag-intersect siya sa computational domain mo, i-refine niyo yun, yung intersection. So yung intersection between the preliminary computational grid at saka ng e-mesh na file mo would undergo refinement. And yung refinement na yon ay masiset mo using the feature edge refinement. So pag nakita mo yung features na na function, so pinapalista lang sa'yo lahat ng e-mesh na file na nagawa mo and nakastore dun sa geometry na file. Then tinatanong anong level of refinement yung gusto mo. To set yung convention, kung ano yung sizes na nilagay mo sa block mesh, yun yung level 0. Level 1 is kung kinalahati mo yung sizes. So, hinati mo into 2 lahat ng dimensions. So, kung halimbawa 1 by 1 by 1 meter na cube yung original from the block mesh, pag level 1, that will be 0.5 by 0.5 by 0.5. And hatiin mo ulit into 2, magiging 0.25 times 0.25 times 0.25 naman yung level. So, ganun ginagawa yung feature edge refinement. And meron din tayong tinatawag na surface refinement. Yung surface refinement naman, yung mismong faces. Refinement surfaces. Yung mga faces dun sa sa patches na previously mo na-identify. So, nilista mo lahat ng patches, dineclare mo siya dun sa tri-surface na function. So, yun yung unang lumalabas palagi sa sa Snappy Hexmesh. Pero, magkakaroon naman ng demo. Papakita naman to. So, what you're being prompted here is ano yung magiging refinement ng surfaces mo. So, meron kang patch. So, for example, meron kang classroom FB like this. Then, tinatanong sa'yo ano yung minimum refinement na level, ano yung maximum na refinement na level. Snappy Hexmesh assume na if, for example, nilagay mo na maximum refinement level is 4, Yung 4 na yon ay magsisimula sa intersection sa mga edges. So sa mga kanto ng domain mo. So dito magiging level 4 sa corners. Then after nun, after sa corners, sa edges, and so on. Then as you go away from the edges, doon bababa yung refinement. Kapag nasa gitna, yun na yung minimum na refinement. So ganun, sineset yung refinement services. So hindi na tayo yung gagawa ng computational grid, parang tinutulungan na tayo ni Snap Hex Mesh na i-prepare yon. Kaya nga siya part ng preprocessor. So dahil sinet ko na minimum refinement level ko ay 2, maximum refinement level ko ay 2, parang kino-communicate ko na, kailangan uniform yung sizes ng mesh ko. And ng faces doon sa surface. So yung faces again is yung discretization. Take note na meron din tinatawag na refinement regions. Yung parang meron kang isa-site na volume na ini-enclose ng whatever patch na ginawa mo. Halimbawa, kung may STL file man yan to indicate yung volume na tinutukoy mo, pwede mong i-refine yung mga cells within doon using yung refinement regions. Pero kung ang ginamit mo ay mode na distance, mangyayari dito is may part, okay, yes, may i-refine siya ng part, mga surfaces. Pero eventually, kapag nasa loob siya ng bluff body mo, na eventually i-delete mo, hindi mo na dapat siya tututukan. Yun yung tinutukoy. Finally, sa snap controls, you're being prompted na, I need to select a point on which if in-expand ko or dinetermine ko yung interconnection ng mga points, starting from that point, I will be defining yung bounds ng aking computational domain. Basically, ang tinatanong is, anong point, anong volume, kasi after doing that, snapping yung surfaces, you basically have two volumes. Yung outer na volume, meaning outside of the bluff body, then meron ka rin inside ng bluff body mo. So, ang tinatanong is ano yung ititira? Since you're simulating yung flow around ng bluff body, so kailangan mong itira is yung volume outside of the body. So, yun yung select. So, pag na-remove yung surfaces beyond intersections, meron siyang ganito, matatapyas. Then, finally, yung last na command is yung tinatawag na add layer. So, naglalagay ka ng inflation layers. Mga maninipis na surfaces mo. Pinaka sa'yo, ilang layers ng cell, inflation layers yung ilalagay mo. Well, at the same time, gaano ba lumalaki or lumiliit yung inflation layer mo as you go away from the face, kung saan siya. Then, pwede mo nang ilagay dito yung mga mesh parameters mo. Ano yung mga target mo na parameters? Ano yung mga hindi mo gustong i-allow? So, meron ka kasing, maarte din kasi syempre yung mesh, nagmamatter yung skewness, nagmamatter yung orthogonality. So, you can place limits of that on that para alam ni SnappyHex Mesh yung target niya na schematic into finding out or building up yung good mesh na dinefine mo ito sa mesh quality controls. Then after running yung SnappyHex Mesh, ma-update na ngayon yung tinatawag na polymesh na folder. Yung polymesh na folder ay matatagpuan sa constant na folder. So pag binuksan mo yung constant na folder, meron kang polymesh. And ang unang file na nandun is yung boundary na file. So nakalista lang doon yung mga patches. Lahat. So lahat ng So yung from the initial na discretization. So in-identify mo na inlet, outlet, front and back, and so on. And at the same time, yung in-snap into mo na bluff body, yung mga surfaces niya, may mga patches din yan. May mga pangalan din yung bawat isa. So, every time na nililista lang ng boundary, parang tinatanong lang, anong index number na face parang nakalista kasi lahat ng phase. Ano yung mga phases na tinutukoy nitong patch na to? So halimbawa, meron kang N phases, ibig sabihin lang, it is composed of 9,000 phases. Then kung ahanapin ko siya sa listahan ng lahat ng mga phases dun sa field files ko, by the moment na nakita ko si phase number 10,458,882, alam ko na yung tinutukoy na ng mga phases doon ay yung inlet for the next 5,000 na phases. 9,000 na phases. Ganon yung boundary file. And other than that, syempre, kailangan natin i-appreciate yung mga na-build up natin na lecture. So, in the similar manner, ganon talaga sinusulat ni OpenFOAM yung computational grid mo. Nagsisimula sa points, contains yung coordinates sa mga vertices mo. So, yung mga vertices are index. So, kung ano yung unang na-site, yun si vertex 0. Kasunod niya si vertex 1, and so on. Yun yung magiging reference ng phases na 5. So, naka-contain dito yung details ng mga, yung unang sinasite, una niyang in-indicate. So, halimbawa, for yung unang sinite na phase, that will be phase number 0. So, lang, po-provide lang, ilang vertices yun. So, 4 na vertices, for example. Then, after that, after telling kung ilang vertices, meron kang open and close parentheses containing yung mga index ng mga vertices na that comprise yung phase. Again, yung index ng bawat points ay makikita mo sa points na file. And after that, meron kang tinatawag na owner na file. Sa owner na file, nakalista lang din, same indexing as with the phases. Parang ang tinatanong lang, itong phase na to, kaninong cell siya belong? Again, yung mga cells, may indexing din yan. So, halimbawa, si phase 1 belongs to cell 0. Si phase 1, phase 0 it belongs to phase 0. Si phase 1 belongs to phase 0. So si phase 2 ay belong kay cell 1, for example. Yun yung sinasagot ni owner na file. And meron ka rin neighbor na file. You're basically identifying nasaan yung mga kapitbahay ng bawat isang cell. So, sinasite mo lang, si cell number 1, nililista lang niya na, meron akong 2, 3, 4 na kapitbahay. Then, yung mga kapitbahay na yon ay nakalista in terms of their cell numbers. So, ito yung laman ng field files. Any polymesh na folder. Dito palagi magre-refer si field files when doing yung solution and even during post-processing. And again, since na-mention ko na nakakapul siya kay field files, si field files ay makikita mo kay 0 na folder. So may mga files siya na laman, contains yung field values mo. So yung P stands for pressure, small letter P yun. Capital letter U stands for the velocity. K stands for the turbulence kinetic energy. S stands for the strain rate. Epsilon stands for the mean rate of dissipation. So kung particularly mo gagamitin yung K-epsilon model, ito yung ma-employ palagi. Tapos meron ka rin omega, which is yung specific rate of dissipation for the K-omega model. Then, syempre, yung turbulence viscosity, which are the computed values, same goes with the subgrid scale viscosity na ma-appreciate natin once we deal with LES or large eddy simulation. So, nung unang beses nakita ni Sir Jaime yung mga OpenFOAM files, tinuturo ko sa kanya paano bakit merong nut dyan? Sir, hindi po yung nut yan. NUT yan. NU. So, yung Greek letter na NU. Tapos T stands for yung turbulence. So, this is yung eddy viscosity. And within each field file, sinasite lang niya ano yung dimensions ng mga field mo. So, yung dimensions na yun are cited in the following manner. So, yung unang number stands for the unit ng mass. Yung second na number stands for the unit of length. Yung pangatlo stands for the unit of time. Tapos temperature, quantity, tapos current, electrical current to, luminous intensity. So yun yung pitong laman nitong sa dimensions. And since yung second one is 1 and yung third one is -1, so meron kang length na tapos yung time na naka-1. So since dineclare natin sa black mesh na convert to meters is equals to 1, this pertains to meters, tapos yung seconds ay naka-raise to -1, so meter per second yung tinutukoy ni velocity. Then after that, mahati siya into 2. Meron kang internal field, nandito yung mga face-centered field value ng bawat face. Ito yung naka-index dun sa face file mo sa Polymesh. Tapos meron ka ring boundary, so which is this one right here. And dito palagi magre-refer si solver na files when dealing with the solution. So si OpenFOAM ay maraming mga built-in na solvers, particularly IcoFoam, PisoFoam, SimpleFoam, and PimpleFoam. So focus natin for today is yung tinatawag na SimpleFoam. Pero before ka nag-arrive dun sa solution, kailangan mo kasing gawin yung mga matrices mo. So yung halimbawa, meron ka ng momentum equation sa bawat set. So paano ba binibuild yung bawat matrices? Or halimbawa, merong coefficient sa pressure gradient, merong coefficient si P. So madidetermine. So paano mo siya binibuild? Well, at the same time, paano babasahin ngayon? Paano i-incorporate in matrix form yung mga field values mo? Yung P, yung U, yung V, yung W. Ito yung ginagawa ni create fields na file. So nagde-declare siya ng class ng variables. So for P, it's a scalar. So sinasabi mo lang volume scalar field P. Tapos meron ka ring vector field, which is yung volume vector field U, which is yung velocity. So titingnan lang niya is kung ano yung field file na name. So last time P yung pinakita natin for pressure, tapos U for velocity. So yun yung ginagawa na. Nandito yung syntax na kung bakit ganun yung pagkakapangalan. So pressure is a scalar field and velocity is a vector field. Well, at the same time, pwede mo ring i-read yung mga tinatawag na constants. For example, gusto mong i-declare yung gravitational constants. Pwede naman yun. Pwede kang actually gumawa ng sarili mong dictionary kung saan nakastore yung mga constants na yun. In this case, yung physical properties, isa sa mga isa sa mga constant, naka-contain, dun kadalasan ni-store yung mga constant sa mga built-in na OpenFOAM na case files. So meron kang physical properties, then parang you're being prompted to, anong file name within sa constant na folder yung hahanapin mo, which is yung physical properties na file. And after that, you can declare constants, and when declaring constants, you need to declare first that, for example, this is a dimension scalar or this is a dimension na vector. Then, saan mo hahanapin ngayon yung value? Yun yung next na tinatanong sa kanya. You can use yung dineclare mo na meron kang physical properties na dictionary, then within that dictionary, nandun yung D sub T. Okay. Which is, in this case, kasi kung gusto mong i-include yung tinatawag na diffusion constant. And after that, doon na papasok yung sa solver na file. Pero konting familiarization lang, kung may nakikita kang FVM, this pertains to finite volume method. Kapag nakita ka ng MRF, this is multiple reference frame. So ito yung overtime na changing na na location. Tapos meron kang divergence, which is div. Tapos meron kang grad, stands for the gradient. And actually meron kang SN grad din, which is later on mag-appear siya. The users are required to familiarize oneself with the governing equations. Ito naman yung advantage ni OpenFOAM. Kasi unlike kay ANSYS na kailangan mo pang tignan yung documentation kung paano ba talaga ginagawa at mayroon kang konting doubt kasi hindi mo nakikita yung mismong code. Dito, pinapakita na yung code tapos pinapakita na kung ano yung governing equations na nagamit. And in the future, hopefully once people get the mastery of this and how these solver files are being written, pwede si OpenFOAM ay ina-allow yung paggawa ng custom-made na solver. And one of the built-in pala na solvers ni OpenFOAM is yung tinatawag na simple foam. Si simple foam, ini-employ niya yung tinatawag na simple algorithm in solving for the pressure and the velocity fields. Remember na yung pinakita kong matrix last time? Medyo may konting inconvenience pa sa pag-solve. Kung masyadong malaking matrices mo, hindi kaya ng mas mahirap makuhanan na inverse and so on. So pwede mo actually i-break down yung operations in an iterative na manner. So instead na simultaneously mo solve yung pressure at saka yung velocity, pwede na mauna yung velocity or pwede mauna yung pressure, then after nun yung velocity or yung pressure na values. Paano ba yung simple algorithm? So again, simple stands for semi-implicit methods for pressure link equations. Ito yung laman ng code niya on the right. So ano siya? Again, na-mention ko na it's all libraries stacking on top of one another para madali yung pag-declare. Mas mabilis yung syntax mo. So meron kang create mesh na ginagawa yung finite volume constants na na-mention ko na sa last na lecture. So meron ka rin create fields. Ito na yung pagbasa ng field values and then pag-incorporate mo sa mesh. Tapos meron kang U equation, tapos meron kang P equation. So U equation is yung momentum predictor. Yung P equation is yung pressure corrector. So nagsisimula sa U equation. Actually, hindi yan yung sa U equation. So, for example, within the solution process ka, ang gagawin lang is kukunin yung values from the previous solution, then you get the derivative across time. So, ito siya, yung UI, tapos U minus UI minus, raised to K minus 1 stands for the velocity field at the previous time step over T. So, ito yung acceleration over time mo. So, yung acceleration over space, yung rest of the terms. So, meron kang pressure gradients, meron kang mga pressures, and meron kang sa boundary conditions. So, yung red is yung values to be solved. Yung green is yung mga na-solve mo na previously na values. So, using yung previous na values from the previous time step, madedetermine mo yung current na velocity field. So, velocity lang muna yung tinitignan natin. Now, meron kang na-predict na velocity field from the momentum equations. Ang next na gagawin is paano mix kita ko last time. So, meron kang gamma, capital letter gamma. Hatiin mo kasi yun to the main diagonal na terms at saka yung mga off-diagonal na terms. Kapag ginawa mo yung ganong decomposition, yung inverse, madali siyang kunin. So, simply kunin mo yung inverse niya, inverse ng bawat term. Kasi kung isang diagonal lang siya, rather than doing yung mga matrix na operations. So, yung mga row operations sa matrices mo para makuha yung inverse niya. So, it spares us from that hassle. After makuha yung velocity, ang target mo is makuha yung velocity at the faces. Pero sa velocity at the faces, again, kailangan mong ipasok yung pressure correction. Yung pressure correction na yon, yung tinatawag na collocation method or yung Rhind-Chow interpolation method. Instead of simply comparing yung, getting the difference between the neighbor cell and the parent cell para makuha yung mga pressure gradients, Ang kinukuha is yung pressure gradients sa faces. Then saka lang i-interpolate into the cell. And with that, i-eliminate mo yung checkerboard oscillation. So ganito lang naman yung nangyari. So meron kang pressure gradient at the parent cell, so meron kang pressure gradient at the surrounding cells na ini-incorporate sa pag-update ng velocity. Now that the velocity is updated, balikan natin yung definition ni pressure. We revert back to the original definition si pressure gradient. So instead na dP over xi, so meron kang EI times this summation ng xij and so on. So meron from the pressure field, magagawa mo yung pressure gradient na field. Kasi kailangan mo yung pressure gradient na field na yun, yung pressure na field na yun, dahil kasama si pressure gradient dun sa magiging velocity correction mo using yung continuity equation. Ito yung pinakita ko from lecture 12 and 13. So, kung paano mo siya pina-plug in sa, paano nagkakaroon ng pressure values dun sa continuity equation mo. Kahit na mga velocities lang yun doon na values. And kapag sinubstitute mo to, sinubstitute mo na yung na-solve mo kanina, then i-rearrange mo yung mga terms para ma-simplify. Meron ka ngayong red values which are to be solved, which is yung pressure field mo. Yung new values mo, ito na yung mga na-predict na momentum mo at first. So ito yung known values from the previous operation. So ito yung nanggaling dito. And only after that's done, if nire-arrange natin, ganito yung magiging itsura niya. So on the left-hand side, meron kang pressure matrix, right-hand side doon yung mga velocity na matrix. Tapos, kailangan nating i-recall kasi palaging lumalabas yung mga mesh based na constant. So, meron kang xij, meron kang yij, meron kang zij. So, between the neighbor cell at saka sa parent cell. Pag sinabi ko na neighbor ng cell, cell I yung tinutukoy ko. Pag pag parent na cell, cell I. Pag parent na cell, and neighbor na cell, cell J. Meron ka mga phase interpolation na constants. Again, ang vital palagi sa finite volume method is yung particularly sa pagkuha ng gradient, divergence, and even Laplacian is yung pag-interpolate into getting yung phase volume instead na yung mga cell-centered na values. Tapos meron ka rin previous field na constant. Ito yung phi. So ito yung na-solve mo from last time. Ito yung mahabang. Tapos meron ka rin boundary conditions na constant. So once na nakita mo yung FB constraints, ibig sabihin ini-include na niya itong boundary conditions constants, then ina-update niya yung solution process. Tapos meron din tayong main diagonal terms. Ito na yung Ito na yung kinukuha naman ng inverse, yung gamma sub I. Tapos meron ka rin off diagonal na terms. Meron ka rin divergence constants. Meron kang dix, diy, diz. Meron ka rin gradient na constants, bnx, bny, bnz. And if we return back to the original definitions ng pressure gradient, now na nakuha mo na yung pressure field from the Laplacian kanina, pwede mo na ma-solve yung pressure na gradient. Pag na-solve mo na yung pressure na gradient, pwede mong i-update ulit yung velocity field, which is to be taken to the next na iteration. Actually, dapat naka-in red yung uij dun sa right-hand side ng equation. Pati si vij, pati si wij. So you are wanting to update yung velocity field. So in a nutshell, ito yung solution flow chart ni simple algorithm. So, si simple algorithm, meron kang pressure field, meron kang velocity field. Pina-plug in mo siya para makorek. So, meron kang initial na value, then after time step 1, mag-update yung velocity field mo, pero kailangan mo siyang i-balance with the other forces. Ayun yung tinatawag na velocity field predictor. After that, ang mapoproduce mo from solving that is yung tinatawag na momentum corrected na velocity field. While at the same time, we do acknowledge na dahil linearize mo, madali mong ma-decompose ngayon yung velocity matrix mo into its main diagonal at saka yung mga off-diagonal na components. Magagamit mo sila pareho into determining yung Poisson, into determining yung pressure field using yung Poisson equation for pressure shown in the figure, which is this one. And syempre, nagmamatter yung phase interpolation scheme. So, ang concern, kasi initially cell-based yung mga values, gusto natin makuha ay yung mga phase-centered na values. So, we do interpolation and as a result, meron kang tinatawag na phase-centered values. Yun yung kailangan mo apart from H and gamma para makuha yung phase-centered na pressure gradient field using yung Poisson's equation. So, may initial guess values for the pressure gradient field. Then, mag-update siya depende sa sa gradient ng off-diagonal na components. Then, after nakuha yung pressure gradient, before i-convert, this is phase-centered, kailangan mo ibalik sa cell-centered, i-employ mo yung Lien-Chow interpolation, which is yung collocation na method. Kasi ang gusto mong makuha is yung pressure gradients at the cells rather than the pressure gradients at the phases. And kapag nakuha mo na yung pressure gradients at the cells, pwede mo na makuha yung tinatawag na pressure corrected na velocity field na mag-aabang sa next na simulation mo, next na loop mo. Tapos meron ka ring gradient schemes. So using gradient schemes para makuha yung P. Tapos, ipa-plugin mo ngayon yung updated na pressure gradient sa velocity field corrector. Meron kang panibagong value for IJ, VI, UI, VI, at saka W, I. Then, maglo-loop back siya ulit. So, meron kang previous velocity field, tapos meron kang continuity corrected pressure field. Ito yung tinatawag natin na simple method. So, simple, pero yung abbreviation niya medyo complicated. Semi-implicit method for pressure link equations. So, ito si simple O. For more documentation, iba kasi yung mga variables, yung naming ng variables na ginagamit ko sa slides kumpara sa universally accepted ng mga CFD practitioners na ginagamit nila in dealing with the documentation of OpenFOAM. So to see yung documentation na yun, kindly open na lang yung link. Tapos meron lang mga key changes ka sa mga naming, sa mga formulas mo. So pag sinabi mo na coefficients ni parent cell, A sub P yun. Tapos meron kang coefficients ni neighboring cell. Meron kang A sub N. Tapos meron ka na rin tinatawag na U asterisk or P asterisk. Kapag may asterisk, ibig sabihin ina-apply mo na yung relaxation schemes mo to ensure na stable yung solution. So, ito si simple na method. So, hoping na around next week demo na tayo on OpenFOAM. Kaya abangan natin whether may face-to-face classes ba or wala. Now, for the fourth part ng lecture, ito yung medyo mahaba. Basically, this tells you on how to do machine problems 2, machine problems 3, and machine problem 4. So, unahin natin si machine problem 2. So, ito yung binigay sa inyo meron kayong wind tunnel test na data na kailangang i-process, and nga may mga probes ka and may mga location ng probes, database probe locations. Tapos meron from math files, i-transfer mo siya sa Excel, or pwede naman na sa MATLAB mo siya i-process na all throughout. So one column for probe, ganoon ini-store ni TPU in the math file yung mga values mo. Next na gagawin is set up yung template na ganito for the blue method. So you have column B na meron kang VLOOKUP for the number. So ito yung main na table mo, which is this one. So number 1, ang nag-iiba lang is yung column where you need to look up. So pag tinukoy na number 1, so tapos nilagay ko na, titingin ako kay column F. So yun yung yung 1.34988. Yun yung i-return na rito. So yun yung si column B. Si column C naman is yung reduce Y variate dependent sa rank. So meron kang 1. So 1 over 14,062 plus 1. Siyempre 40,063. Tapos kunin mo yung ln nun. Yung negative ng ln nun. Tapos kunin mo yung ln nung nakuha mong value na yun. Yun yung reduce Y variate natin. Then yung column D is yung ating sorted na pressure value. So naka-sort siya from smallest to largest. Then we can then use yung forecast na function natin. So sa forecast na function natin, plug in lang natin yung reduce Y variate ng mga probabilities na nilista natin kanina, yung 0.22, 0.5, 0.57, 0.78. Then yung magiging reference na Y-axis na values mo is yung column D. Tapos yung magiging reference X values mo is yung column C mo. So ganun niya forecast. This uses linear interpolation. So basically, linear regression. So basically, this is yung blue method in a nutshell. Tapos nilagay ko lang din yung average to prove a point lang. After that, pwede mong, nandun sa slides yung VBA code. So once na set up nyo in this way, pwede mong i-employ itong VBA code na to repeatedly compile the CP values. So ano lang to, Microsoft VBA lang siya. So pwede mo siyang i-run sa Excel. So nag-declare ako ng function, tapos nag-declare ako ng integers, tapos nilagay ko lang kung ilan yung number ng probes. Sa case na inanalyze ko, 252. Tapos nag-set up lang ako ng for loop. Nangyari dun sa for loop is kung ano man yung value ni cell 7, which yung ginagamit na reference. So dito sinet ko na si A7 ay yung pang ilang column yung kailangan mong tignan dun sa VLOOKUP mo. So halimbawa nilagay ko na 2, titingnan niya is yung column 2 right here. Pag nilagay ko na 3, column 3, nilagay ko na 4, column 4, and so on. So ginagawa lang is binabago mo lang to para iba na yung values na titignan niya. Then pag medyo mabagal yung computer mo, you allow some time to solve. Una, i-calculate niya. I-hold mo muna yung pag-carry on ng values kasi hindi pa niya ina-update yun. Hindi niya pa rin ina-update yun. Dahil hindi niya pa nasusolve. So pag hindi pa niya nasusolve, tapos kinary over mo na, wala pa. Pare-pareho lang ng values na lalabas yun. So naglagay lang ako dito ng 15 seconds. Hintayin mo lang na ma-solve kasi maraming ang data ang churn. Ito. And after that, kukunin ko lang kung ano yung nakuha ko dito sa C1 to C5. Tapos ipipaste ko lang siya doon sa katapat niya na column pertaining to the probe. Then ganito yung magiging itsura. So then after running that, ganito yung kalalabasan niya. Oops. So meron ka ng values, nakita mo na sa column M, column L, hanggang sa 252nd na column. Then once you plot, ito na yung nakaabang ngayon for your contours. Pero kung pinlot mo, ganito yung itsura ng mga CP values. Then after getting nga yung mga CP values na yon over different probabilities, pwede kang mag-set up ng isa pang CSV file. Pwedeng sundan mo yung gantong format. So, ano lang, yung rows 6 to 9 lang, tinranspose ko siya. Tapos yung rows 1 to 4, tinranspose ko lang din siya on this manner. And isi-save ko lang as an CSV file. Then, pwede, since libre naman yung QGIS, pwede nyo buksan, mag-install ng QGIS, then dito gawin yung pag-produce ng contours. So, you can import that as a new delimited text na layer. And within the delimited text na layer, cite mo lang yung X field mo at saka yung Y field mo. So, ito yung point coordinates. Then, after that, using the delimited text layer, ito na yung delimited text layer, i-click mo yung contour na plugin. Then within dun sa contour na plugin, ipa-prompt ka lang ano yung maximum na value, ano yung minimum na value, then ano yung intervals ng contours. So ganito yung kalalabasan. Pag ano mo siya, as is lang, wala akong binago sa coordinates. Ganito yung kalalabasan niya na itsura. Kasi overlay ko lang yung kanina sa schematic ng sa wind tunnel, which is this one. In-overlay ko lang, parang tinapyas ko lang yung mga hindi talaga kasama na contour na part. Ganito yung magiging itsura niya. So meron ka nito, meron ka nito, meron ka nito, meron ka nito. So for different probabilities, magagawa mo na yung contours. Repeat all probabilities and wind angle. So kung halimbawa may 0.57 ka na, ay P at equals 0.57 na contour, gawin mo siya sa 0.22, gawin mo siya sa 0.5, gawin mo siya sa 0.78, then gawin mo siya across all of the wind angles. And to have it appreciated, so in bridging towards machine problem 4, hopefully, isa din to sa part na may report nyo for machine problem 2, yung tinatawag na area average na pressures. First is to create a grid. Parang grid to cater, parang yun nga, meron kang series ng points na regularly spaced. Tapos, ito ay mag-entertain ng interpolated values from the probes. So we conduct interpolation and extrapolation to determine the CP values for each set. Remember na the finer the grid, the manier the points. So kailangan mo lang siyang balance. Tapos i-determine mo na after mong ma-produce yung mga coordinates ng bawat CP values. So yung CP at probability of exceedance of 0.22, 0.5, 0.57, and 0.78. You then determine yung coordinates ng bawat phase. So pwede mong i-hover over yung mouse doon sa, so pwede mong i-overlay yung TPU na schematic. Kasi overlay, i-hover over mo yung mouse doon sa mga kanto, sa mga corners para makuha yung mga coordinates mo. Then you set another sheet kung saan yung lalabas lang dapat na value if may lalabas lang na value for that cell if yung cell na yun or yung point na yun falls under this interval. Nag-set ako ng minimum X, nag-set ako ng minimum Y, set ako ng maximum X and maximum Y. Then kung ano yung mga lumabas na values, kunin ko lang yung average nun, yun na yung area average na CP. And get the average of those that appear. Yun yung magiging area average. Yung pinakita ko dito is yung roof na average. Yung buong roof, yung upper portions ng roof, hindi kasama yung eaves. Ano yung area average na CP value. So yun lang yung ilagay. Naka-demonstrate. Pero pwede mong gawin yung sa eaves, pwede mong gawin yung sa walls. Ito rin yung mga pwede mo rin i-determine yung mga vertices, yung maximum x, minimum x, maximum y, and minimum y, depende dun sa mga areas that are defined in NSCP. So ito yung windward na face, ito yung kung halimbawang perpendicular to the roof ridge, so meron kang windward na roof, tapos meron kang leeward na roof. So bawat isa doon may area average CP ka na kailangang kunan. Then in bridging to machine problem 4, yung na-determine mo na area average CP values, i-compare mo siya sa pressure coefficients na determined from NSCP. So yung K sub B multiplied by K sub Z or K sub H times G times yung CP na nakita mo sa either directional component or sa directional na procedure or sa enclosure na procedure. Ito yung sa machine problem 4. And roll back tayo. This was discussed in last Tuesday. So paano natin gagawin specifically si machine problem 3? Ito yung specifics na pinangako ko sa inyo. So select a typhoon event between 2020 and presence and to present. And siya kasi yung available na somehow systemized. May systemized na tabulation sa NDRFC na database. So yung link to the database is this one right here. So kapag tapos ng event, lalabas na inactive, pero if ongoing pa yung compilation, parang counted siya as active. So since past event yan, lahat inactive, may inactive na tag. We open the situational report. So nag-sample lang ako, hinanap ko, nasan yung situational report ni Rod? So, binigyan ako ni archives, meron. Tapos, i-click ko lang yun. Then ito yung lalabas, situational report for Rolly in 2020. Then, pwede kong tingnan yung photos, pwede kong tingnan yung actions taken, pero ang titingnan natin, syempre, is yung report. Sa report, meron kang whole report, meron kang summary tables, meron kang breakdown tables. Ang concern natin, para ma-encode natin siya sa database, is yung breakdown table. Ganito yung itsura ni breakdown na table. So, naka-sequence to. Ang una mo makikita sa breakdown na table, yung mga tinatawag na related incidents. And yun yung ang katumbas niya sa MDAT na database is yung tinatawag na associated disasters. So nakalista lang dito. Tapos next mo makikita is yung affected na population, which meron ding which yung ilalagay mo din sa MDAT ng database. Ito yung hahanapin mo na part na paglalagyan. So, tapos ito yung table na tingnan mo. So for example, merong municipality, halimbawa Dinapige, yung na-select mo na area, ito yung mga i-encode mo na part kasi municipality based yan. One entry per one municipality per on every entry. Then meron ding casualties na actually depende to sa kung kailan kasi minsan tinatabulate lang per municipality, pero minsan nakalista na lahat kasi meron kang first name, last name, middle name, so naka-identify talaga yung individual. So nakasort naman siya na halimbawa mga certain cities, sa Dinapige, kung merong namatay or na-injure sa Dinapige, lalabas siya. Yun yung ipa-plugin nyo dito. Number of deaths, number of missing, number of injured. Tapos, after that, is yung status ng roads and bridges. Kung meron bang nasira, meron bang na-damage lang. So, pag damage, ibig sabihin, temporarily, na-halt yung operations. Kapag destroyed, talagang wala na, total collapse na. So kapag naging not passable, pwede mong i-count siya as damage. Pero kung halimbawang nakalagay na sira na dito sa status, counted as destroyed na siya. So ang hanapin mo is particular dun sa municipality mo. So nakalagay naman siya dito. Nakasort per province muna, then per municipality. Tapos yung status ng power, so pwede mong ito yung magiging reference mo into telling kung ano yung mga impacted na sectors. So meron kang power and communication lines. Yun yung nakalagay sa breakdown na table. And after that, yung mga damage na houses. Actually, ito yung main gagamitin natin. Pero ang target natin in the future, once we compile everything, i-include din natin yung paggawa ng empirical curves for what's called agricultural damages. Kasi so far, since civil engineers tayo, ito tayo nakafocus sa mga houses na damage. So meron kang partial damage and meron kang totally damage. So pag partially damaged, ilalagay mo siya doon. Pag totally damaged, ilalagay mo siya sa isang. Again, agricultural damages, naka-express siya in terms of hectares. So ito siya, nakalagay. Then kung may forest loss, nakalagay din naman, and so on. As meron ding damage to infrastructure, nakalista lang dito ilang schools yung nasira, ilang health facilities yung nasira. So yun yung ilalagay nyo dito. So kung meron man sa municipality of concern nyo. Pero kung wala, edi zero. Ito yung medyo magiging tricky na part. Meron kasing ibang situational reports na readily available yung total damages. Pero kung walang breakdown, we need to compute it ourselves. So total damages will be equal to the total infrastructural damage na makikita mo sa summary tables instead dun sa breakdown table, multiplied by the ratio of the buildings destroyed within that municipality divided by that of the total buildings destroyed. Parang nag-ratio and proportion pa lang for both infrastructural damage and agricultural damage. Pinag-add mo yung dalawa, yun yung total damages niya. Then, syempre, yung pinakaunang part ng document mo is yung pag-tell kung ano yung event ID. So, to set yung convention, so yung unang 4 na number, yun yung year, kung kailan nangyari yung typhoon. Tapos yung sunod na 4 na number, yun yung date kung kailan siya naglandfall. So, kung si Rolly ay naglandfall ng October 31, pero actually, factually wrong yan. And siya, November 1 siya naglandfall. So kung for the sake of argument lang, na October 31 siya naglandfall. So ilalagay ko yung name ng event is 10/31. Tapos kung situational report yung data, 20 yung ilalagay ko na source code. If media yung pinanggalingan, 21 yung ilalagay ko na source code. Tapos yung source name, ilalagay ko lang na NDRMC. Tapos yung link to the source, ilalagay ko lang kung yung link to the PDF file. Tapos source reliability, high naman siya dahil siya naman yung agency mandated into doing that. Then, syempre, dahil typhoons yung focus natin, ito yung magiging category niya. Disaster type, storm, code of disaster type, ST. Disaster subtype is tropical cyclones. So, i-encode natin using i-encode natin yon. Yung link to the toolbox is this one right here. Then, pwede actually kayo magtulong-tulong on one typhoon event kung masyadong maraming municipalities. However, ang i-check ko dito is dapat walang duplicate na entries. Isang entry, isang points. So, 100 entries are required in doing yung machine problem tree. Then, after doing yung encoding procedure, saka natin i-discuss ano ba yung maging endgame after we finish with the coverage of machine problem 5. that will be all for today's lecture. So that concludes yung ating lecture. So may tanong ba tayo?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Doon po sa encoding ng, di ba per municipality, doon sa isang typhoon event, isang entry yun, sir?
Mm-mm.
Paano po yung numbering nung ano yun, doon sa code, paano to? Di ba yung 2020 dash, for example kanina, 1031, paano ba yung
Ah,
numbering nun? Kasi kung, for example, ibang typhoon event yung ginawa ni ganito, tapos kung per
oh,
municipality, ibang entry, mag
hindi.
plus one lang po
Same,
ba yun, sir?
same code. Parang kung sinabi mo na 1031, alam ko na this pertains to the typhoon na naglandfall nung October 31.
So same code lang sa lahat?
Oh, para may convention. So kung role yung tinutukoy, 1031, kung ibang bagyo, halimbawa, no, si Quinta, lalagay mo na 1010, ganun. So 2020, 1010, ganun yung code.
Ay, akala ko po kasi from yung dun sa meeting natin nung Tuesday, sir, na parang delikado kasi kung same same code yung per
Oh,
entry.
yeah.
Ewan ko lang, sir, baka mali lang nakan ko. Mali lang narinig ko.
Nag-curate lang. Ako din naman yung nag-curate nun eh. Mas prefer ko na, ano, na type, identifier ng typhoon yung ano, code.
Okay. So
Makikita ko naman eventually na ibang municipality yung main code.
kung makikita yun dun sa database, sir, same code lang lahat. Parang,
Mm.
okay.
Mm. Mm.
Sige, sir, yun lang po.
Okay. Any questions pa? So naka-post na yan sa uli respectively. So yung guide for MP2, for MP3, MP4, plus yung slides na pinresent ko just right now. Naka-post natin siya sa uli. So you can access kung gusto niyo pambalikan or mag-sift through sa notes para ma-recall kung ano yung gusto niyo. Wala na bang tanong? Wala na. Okay, sure na tayo. So, ano lang, magtatanong ako ng update weekly kung kamusta yung encoding procedure nyo sa MDAT. Then at the same time, magiging hands-on na tayo starting next week kasi open foam na yung ituturo. Step by step kung paano ba siya gawin. So that you can do CFD yourself. So, yun. Yun yung hopefully malaki yung maging payoff ng enrollment nyo sa course na to. With no further questions, and without further ado, thank you for attending today's lecture. So, hoping to see you on Tuesday and abangan natin yung updates whether kung online ba or face-to-face na tayo. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.